Yo, what's going on, man? Today is March the 20th, 2024. It's your boy Chris, and this is the ChrisBeCappinn NBA show where I'm live on Twitter, also live on YouTube as well. Man, if you guys had a chance to check out the morning show, man, it was crazy. I did an entire morning show, about 27, 28 minutes, totally unrecorded, just talking, just giving all the plays out, probably a bunch of winners. And my audio had actually messed up on my computer. So I redid the show. If for people, I was like, man, I'm gonna just redo the show. So I redid the whole show, condensed it just a tad bit. Got one play that I made since then, but I gave out a play earlier this morning. I think the line has moved a tad bit there, but we'll talk about it, man. We'll get into it. So let's do just that real quick. Let me just check the comments to make sure you guys can actually hear me. Shout out to my guy Kenneth for being here. Jose, Tasha, Rick says, hope we have sound. I think we should have sound, man. He got hot takes, says good day yesterday. T-Wolves started hitting miracle shots at the end. Yeah, they killed me, man. We're going to get into the recap here. What up, Oaktown's finest? And Tasha, you guys definitely try. People were sending me messages on Twitter, on YouTube. So it's totally my fault. I'll make sure I check the audio. I've never had that happen before. So I'll make sure I check the audio before I start to go live and doing those morning shows. But like I said, I felt like it was warranted to run it back, man. So I did it again. Did it twice. Let's get into it for today, though, man. Let's get into it for today. Coming off a pretty good day yesterday. We went 2-1 yesterday, up about another unit real quick. Let me do this. All right, cool. So, like I said, real quick, we did get Houston early, minus the 5.5. That was a winner. New Orleans minus the 7.5 was another winner. Denver minus 4.5. No matter what number you got, was a loser. So yesterday it was 1.32 units, and that's 4-1 to start the week. We're up almost. We get into where we want to go, man. Steady incline. We know it's a marathon, not a sprint. Almost 38 units. Hopefully we're over 38, 39 units today. So let's keep it pushing, man. First game up, we got the Pacers and we got the Pistons. Game will be played in Detroit. This line was 9, and I have the lines from this morning. I wasn't able to go through and update all of them, but this line was 9. It's all the way up to 10.5. And I didn't think that the line would get this big. I'll be honest with you guys. I really, really didn't. I talked about this one earlier on the morning show, and nothing's changed for me. I talked about, even though the Pacers aren't necessarily the greatest defensive team, they typically do play well in these bounce back spots. So for Indiana, you got no Ben Mathurin, you got no Doug McDermott coming off 1 day's rest. They're coming off a loss as a favorite as well, and that's something that they typically do a good job of bouncing back in. For Detroit, real quick, let me just check it. I didn't see any updated injury news, but we do got a lot of games. There's a lot to kind of keep your eye on. So I do want to check it real quick for Detroit. So Cade is in. Fontecchio is still listed as a toss-up to play. Quentin Grimes is also listed as out. So for Fontecchio, I know he missed the last game. He's listed as questionable with a toe injury in this one as well. So it's simple for me in this game, man. It's Pacers early. I know that they're a much better second half team, but I think it's a favorable spot for Detroit. You get a Detroit team that's also off 1 day's rest, third game in 4 nights, and a fourth game in 6 nights. Now, granted, Cade didn't play that last game. This is second straight home game for them. They do play Boston here coming up on deck. Detroit has actually fell off and it's really been scoring. They've been held under their team total in 4 straight games. Granted, they played some really good competition. They had Boston twice. They had Miami twice on Friday and Sunday, and then they had Boston as well in there also. So I'm sorry, I said second straight home game. They've actually just got smoked in Boston most recently. But it's a Pacers spot for me. Pacers have actually won all 3 matchups this season, and they've covered all 3 spreads. I didn't touch the full spread. Pacers are just 5-5 against the spread as road favorites, but they are 4-1 straight up and against the spread coming off a loss since the All-Star break. They're winning by average of about 10 points, which is where you see this spread. 4-1 to the under, so their defense typically plays a little bit better. And they're 7-2 against the spread in their last 9 off a loss, 7-3 to the under in that spot as well. And like I said, Detroit's really, really struggled to score. The biggest thing for me in this game, and I mentioned this earlier on the morning show, was that the Pacers really love to attack the rim. Like they get to the rim a lot. They've actually taken the most shots at the rim and they're 5th in rim accuracy. Detroit is actually limited their opponents to the 5th fewest rim attempts. However, when teams do get to the rim, they typically score. They're actually allowing the highest rim percentage. We think about teams like the Washington Wizards giving up a bunch of points at the rim. And granted, you got Jalen Duren, but he's still, he's not the greatest defender. He's just a really great athlete. He's gonna block some shots, but I think the Pacers live in the point. I think the Pacers live in the paint here. And I haven't taken it yet, but I want Pacers first half. I think that's the best play in this game. I'm not touching them full game, but this should be a really, really big win for the Pacers, in my opinion. So that's the way I like to play this one, is Pacers first half. Real quick, let me see what I can get the best line. And I'm upset because I probably should have played it when I gave it out earlier. But I wanted to kind of see what happened with the injury report. Fontecchio is a guy that I think is going to be needed. Detroit already struggles to shoot the ball from the outside. Without Fontecchio, no Quentin Grimes. Could be a little bit more difficult for this team as well. So first half for me, Pacers would be the bounce back spot here. 5.5 is the number. And that's a little steep. On BetMGM, they got a 5.5. I see this all the way up to 6.5 on FanDuel. So it's definitely shaded towards the first half. Detroit has played better basketball in the first half. Like I said, the Pacers are typically a second half team, but I think the Pacers should be winning this game by double digits at halftime. So that would be my top play. I'm probably going to end up getting there as I see the 5.5 get some juice over on BetMGM. Matter of fact, I'm gonna play it right now. So I'm gonna go ahead and lock it in. I'm going to BetMGM. I didn't even send this one out to the members, but I'm gonna play the 5.5 real quick. I'm gonna play the 5.5. Y'all bear with me for a second. This was something I probably should have. I could have got a 4.5 earlier, and now I'm kind of kicking myself that I didn't. But it's cool. I'll take the 5.5 minus 115. 0.75 unit for the members who are wondering how much I'm playing on it. I hate to get the worst of the number, and if I do get the worst of the number, I'm never going full unit on it. But this was a spot that I had kind of circled yesterday when I was looking through the card. Like, the Pacers will bounce back in this spot against a Detroit team that's struggling to score. And I think the Pacers will be motivated in this spot as well. Rick Carlisle had the guys locked in. So I'm playing Pacers first half minus the 5.5, expecting them to have, like I said, a double-digit lead at halftime of this game. And my bet is almost in. It is now in. Okay, so Pacers first half for me. I want to screenshot this really, really quickly and just send it out to the members as well, so they'll have it and they can get the number that I got. And then we'll keep it pushing after that. Pacers first half minus the 5.5 is what I'm playing. 0.75 units. Y'all bear with me. Almost there. Sorry for the downtime. Like I said, I do like the Pacers. This was something I should have played it when it opened, honestly. Pacers first half minus the 5.5. Indiana first half minus the 5.5. 0.75 units here. All right, cool. Let's keep it pushing. I did not think I was going to make a play live on the show, but it's all good. Let's go to the chat real quick and see what you guys are saying here as well. Yeah, Tariq, I appreciate you, my guy. I know you had DM me too. Vaughn says, coming off a great Monday, went like 6-0, and all I talked about, all the plays and a lot of the plays talked about you played in cash. I'm glad to hear that. What's up, oh, me too? He says he's a new member. I appreciate you for tapping in. Excuse me. Saturated likes Tyrese Halliburton over 10.5 assists. I think that's an absolute good play in this game. Makes a ton of sense to me. I like the Pacers to be able to score against the Detroit defense that's bottom 5, especially when they're playing against good offenses. Jose says Tyrese Halliburton had 10 assists last time, so some people liking Halliburton assists. Kenneth says he's leaning under 234.5. I don't really have a strong look on the total, Kenneth. I think what kills me in this one is that the Pacers, they've been struggling to score, but I think this is a game where they could really, really score a lot. I talked about, them being able to get out and not really run in transition, but more so attack the paint. I think that they could really, really score. If you like the team total over in the first half a little bit more, I could not talk anybody off. I think the Pacers can pretty much name the score. I know that their offense has really struggled recently. Tyrese Halliburton has been in a slump. He could get out of it in this game. That's the way I think about it. Let's see. Tasha says she likes the Pacers team total over 123 for the full game. Vaughn says, I want to get there with Halliburton tonight. He seemed a bit down after the loss and might be looking to turn up tonight, probably taking his points and assists. I think that's probably a really solid play too. Sheeny says, "What about the under? What about that under?" Like I said, I don't have a too strong of a play on the total. All my notes said that this game goes under. I got Pacers 7-2 to the under in their last 9. Detroit 7-3 to the under in their last 10. Pacers 7-3 to the under as road favorites, and Pistons 4-2 to the under since the All-Star break and home game. So, like I said, I can't quite get there, but I think that the under is the stronger play. I couldn't get there. I like the side a little bit more. Appreciate my lady Tasha. David says Pacers, baby. Wednesday. What up, David? Appreciate you for tapping in. Tariq says he kind of liked the over in the Pacers game. And Saturated says Holly has 13 and 16 assists over his last 2 games versus the Pistons. They mollywopped the Pistons. Like I said, they beat them all 3 games this season. They covered the spread. And it's typically like a flat spot, I would think, for the Pacers. But they're coming off a loss as a favorite. And that's why I typically like to back them. All right, next game up. We got the Miami Heat. They will be in Cleveland. This line has now shifted. You guys see 2.5 on the screen. It is now down to 2. The total is now up to 205. It looks like it's the consensus. You guys see 203 on the screen. And I think a lot of that is because of the updated injury report. Bam Adebayo is listed. I mentioned this earlier if you guys had a chance to listen to the morning show. Bam Adebayo had popped. Well, he hadn't popped up, but I was reading through some beat reported stuff for the Miami Heat. And they talked about Terry Rozier and Bam Adebayo playing through their injuries, that, little knick-knack injuries. Of course, Jimmy Butler still a game-time decision. So is Jovic. He is also a game-time decision. Miami Heat did send Duncan Robinson back to Miami to see a back specialist. No Kevin Love, no Tyler Hero. This is an ugly game, man. I talked about it earlier on the morning show. No Donovan Mitchell, no Evan Mobley, no Max Strus, no Dean Wade. It's not a game that I'm interested in betting from a side perspective. I do think it's a coin flip type of game, which is what you see on the spread. I wanted to get there with Miami. I thought Miami could potentially be in a bounce back spot. And this line has come down in their favor, but you can't take Miami, in my opinion, without Bam Adebayo, especially if you don't know Jimmy Butler's going to play. For Miami, I also looked at them being in the spot that they're in. It's a 3rd game in 4 nights, even though they were off yesterday. It's also a 4th game in 6 nights for them. In the last game of a 4-game road trip, they did 3-7 against the spread in their last 10, 1-4 against the spread in their last 5. Also, just 5-9 straight up, 2-10-2 against the spread are the Miami Heat when they're playing their 4th game in 6 nights. So it's not the greatest spot for Miami. But I mean, do you really want to lay points with Cleveland? Cleveland has been so inconsistent. They win a game, lose a game, win a game, lose a game. So this was one that I kind of stayed off of. Miami is 8-2 to the under in their last 10. 7 in a row have gone under. And I looked at teams coming off a win as a 7-point dog or more. They are 87-65-1 to the under this season. That's about 58% since the game goes under. Miami also 17-6 to the under as road dogs, including 4 straight, 7 of the last 8. Since the All-Star break, they're 5-1 to the under as road dogs, with those games totaling about 207 points, which is consistent with what we see here. I think with them being shorthanded, this is probably another under spot. Offensively, last 2 weeks, they're bottom 7 in points scored per 100 possessions, and an effective field goal percentage, free throw rate, all of the categories that lead the points. Cleveland also bottom 10 in scoring over the last 2 weeks, and they'll continue to be without a lot of their offensive guys as well. So I really wanted to get there with the under. I didn't play the game though. Not going to play the side. I know I'm not getting interested in the side, but those are just my thoughts, man. I don't believe in Cleveland without Donovan Mitchell, Evan Mobley, Dean Wade, and Max Strus. And I can't believe in Miami because they're kind of limping right now. This team is so depleted right now. So I'm not interested there. And I'm not interested, like I said, I lean under, but can't play the under without Bam. He is a really, really big piece of the defense for the Miami Heat, of course. Let's see what you guys are talking about here. Bond says he also likes Cade points as a lean. Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you right here, Saturated. He said this game is gross. Tasha says Miami pissed me off Monday. Miami cash for us. We took the team total under. And I will say this real quick. Last thing I'll say about this game is the trend that I gave you guys on Monday when we bet the who team total did we bet under? We bet Philly team total under. It was under 108.5, I think was the number. On Monday. I gave it out on Sunday night. The Miami Heat I think they've held 8 straight opponents under their team total when they've been a road dog this season. So Miami's defense plays a lot better on the road, of course, and the opponent team total specifically has gone under 8 straight times. So with no Bam, I still couldn't get there though. Smoky Steam Bet says Cavs been inconsistent since the All-Star break, going with the Heat again, but they burned me a few times lately. Yeah, I get it. That's why it makes it a tough game. Tariq says he likes the under. He said when it was at 204, he took the under at 204. So now it's come up, got a couple extra points of value. Shout out to Saturated for becoming a member. Appreciate you, Saturated, for joining the ChrisBeCappinn community. And then Saturated also says, he said, I just want to say F the Mavs. They scored 4 what is GD points? Oh, 4 goddamn points in the first 6 minutes of the fourth quarter last night. Cost me a huge parlay. Bums. So I guess you probably had them to cover last night. Yeah, they were kind of playing around. I saw Luka out there shooting the ball 6 for 27 or something like that. Yeah, it was terrible. Vaughn says, give me Jared Allen. He likes his rebounds over 10.5 at -130. He says low scoring game and the only rebounder for the Cavs have. This makes a ton of sense here, Vaughn. I would definitely lean that way. Jose says, what do you think about Caris LeVert assists? I think Miami does a really good job of this, which means that they probably will look to Caris LeVert to potentially get those assists, Jose. I don't know. I don't have a strong opinion, but I don't even know what the number is. I don't think I could talk you off, but don't let me talk you on either. Not anything I'm endorsing. David says, just can't help but feel that we are getting a buy low spot for the Pacers total. Remember how all those games was over 250? Yeah, that was before the All-Star break, David. The Pacers have not been trending towards the over at all recently. If you go through and look at the advanced metrics, their offense has not been that good. Since the All-Star break, I just want to look. I'll look at it real quick. Since the All-Star break, they played 13 games. They're 10-3 to the under. 10-3 to the under. 6 of their last 7 have actually gone under. And the one game that they had in the last 6 that went over was actually an overtime game against the Bulls. So they have been an under team for sure. Fontecchio ruled out. Great. I love it. Appreciate you, Vaughn. Appreciate you, J Chip, for dropping that info in the chat. Because Lord knows I can't keep up and do the show. Taj Gibson also ruled out. Yeah, they also without Isaiah Stewart. So yeah, that's great news. That line might even move up a little bit more. Fontecchio shouldn't move it so Simone Fontecchio shouldn't move it so much, but yeah, appreciate you guys for dropping it there. Let's keep it pushing. Next game up. So no play for me. Do lean towards the under in this game. Next game up, we got the Milwaukee Bucks and the Boston Celtics. This was a game that, I talked at nauseum about how much I wanted to take Boston earlier on the morning show, and then Giannis gets ruled out. I actually thought he was going to play. He's already been ruled out. This is a game where, you can get Boston. I talked about it earlier this morning. -6 is still available if you guys have Bet365. This was one that I did make right before the show. Boston -6. Like I said, still available right now on Bet365. I like Boston early, man. I talked about it at great lengths, but I'll give you guys the condensed version. So Milwaukee is a little bit more rested. And the one thing about Milwaukee, I'm trying to do this a little bit more, taking it to my handicap, just looking at the spot for these teams as far as who they've been playing, like strength of schedule. Milwaukee they do have 2 days rest. It's a one-off road game for them before they go back home and have 3 more home games. The Bucks are 5-3 straight up and against the spread in their last 8. They faced a more difficult schedule. I mentioned this early. They played the Suns, the Sixers, the Kings, the Clippers, the Lakers, the Warriors, the Clippers again, etc. So all really good teams for the Bucks. This Boston team is less rested, only 1 day, 3rd game in 4 nights. However, they have been managing their roster and they've been resting players. They've been blowing teams out. So a lot of those games haven't, really been too taxing. No look ahead spot because they got Detroit on deck on Friday. And Boston's been while they have been beating up some cupcakes, they beat the Wizards, the Pistons, the Jazz, the Blazers more recently. This team is just the number 1 offensive team in the NBA, and they have a great strength in this game, which is the above 3, which I think is absolutely, something that's going to show itself in this game. The Boston's also 8-2 straight up. They're 6-0 straight up and against the spread in their last 6. And we got to remember what happened in that last game when these two teams played. Milwaukee smoked them, beat them 135-102 on January the 11th. It was the second leg of a back-to-back after Boston had to fight tooth and nail to keep that home winning streak alive against the Minnesota Timberwolves the night before. It was also a 5th game in 7 nights for Boston, and they got smoked. They were losing by like 30, 40 points at halftime. So I think, Boston will remember that. I do think it's a Boston spot. They've won 6 of the last 10 head-to-head, but they have only covered 3 of the last 9. Milwaukee's actually covered both games as we get breaking news again that Bam is actually ruled out and Jimmy Butler's ruled in. I'm not touching that game at all. Jovic also available to play. I think that, I can't bet over. Shout out to you as well, BizX. I appreciate you for DMing me. I know you sent me those. Appreciate you for sharing that, my brother. Always appreciate you for giving me those updates. And I appreciate everybody for dropping it in the chat as well. But I did just happen to glance down at my other phone to see that news. But yeah, I'm not playing the game with Bam out and Jimmy in. No idea what to do with it there. But back to this Bucks game. Like I said, I think the Celtics remember that. And I looked, like, taking a deeper dive into the game. I looked at Boston. They, like I said, scoring 125.6 points per 100 possessions over the last 2 weeks. Number 1 in offense, number 6 in effective field goal percentage. They're 3rd in turnover rate, so they're not turning the ball over. They're grabbing the 4th most offensive rebounds. And the Bucks defense has been really, really suspect. Even in that blowout against the Phoenix Suns, they didn't play well defensively. Milwaukee is 29th in points allowed per 100 possessions. Dead last in opponent effective field goal percentage, the 5th worst at forcing turnovers. And the number 1 advantage for Milwaukee has been the long mid-range shot, where they're taking the 4th most and they're shooting it at the 4th highest percentage. And Boston is giving up that shot. However, Milwaukee is also shooting a bunch of threes. They're 3rd in above the break 3 frequency, 4th in percentage from above the break, and Boston has been top 8 in both of those categories. 3 as well. So I expect the Bucks defense to play. I expect the Celtics defense to play really, really well. Now, getting back to how bad that Bucks defense is, they have actually been limiting opponents to getting to the rim. The second fewest attempts at the rim are what the Milwaukee Bucks are holding teams to. But when teams do get to the rim, they're scoring at the second highest rate against the Bucks. So 29th in opponent field goal percentage over the last 2 weeks are the Bucks. They've also been really, really bad against above the break 3 that I mentioned already, allowing the 4th most attempts over the last 2 weeks. And teams are shooting 45% from 3, which is Boston's bread and butter. Their favorite shot on the floor. Boston is number 1 in the above the break 3 frequency, and they're 3rd in above the break 3-point accuracy over the past 2 weeks. So this should be I looked into the advanced stats and saw, like, who's going to hit those numbers, who's going to hit those threes. If you're betting purely off volume, it's Jason Tatum and Derek White. And if you're betting off pure accuracy, it's Jason Tatum. Jason Tatum, I think, is shooting like 58% from the 3-point line on the above the break threes over the last 2 weeks. I didn't bet it, but I wanted to share that with you guys. Bucks also haven't been good against the fast break. They're allowing the 4th most points in transition per play. And Boston's actually been doing a really good job. We don't think about them as a fast-paced team, but they're actually 11th in fast break frequency and 4th in point score over the last 2 weeks as well. So it's a Boston spot for me. Boston first half. Like I said, I got to send this one out, but I didn't play it. I hadn't played it till right before the show started. Let's see what you guys are thinking here. Saturated says, do you hate the Celtics team total over 118.5? Absolutely not, Saturated. I think the Celtics score as many points as they can, as they want to. The only thing is just like, do they really want to pound this team? Because if so, they could, really, really hold. I think they could hold the Bucks under their team total, and that could slow things down, on the offensive end for them. But Boston is one of those teams where their defense is their best offense. They play really good defense that allows them to get out on the break. A lot of those transition pull-up threes, really good ball movement in transition as well. They're very unselfish. I think Celtics first half team total could be in play as well. Jose likes Tatum points over. Vaughn sending the message that Bam is out, Butler and Jovic are in. And LJ got some numbers to back that Boston first half too. He says first half -6. 22, 11, and 1 against the spread in the first half at home. Bucks 9 and 23 against the spread in the first half on the road. That's super solid. I knew Boston was the best first half team in the league. I mentioned that on the morning show, but I hadn't quite pulled the trigger when this number was 4.5. For people who don't know, if you have access to ESPN Bet, they always put out the first halves. ESPN Bet and Sports Illustrated. If you guys, I haven't been playing a lot of first halves, but I kind of like a couple today. Vaughn says, I have no logic why, but I like Bucks to cover the 10.5 tonight. He says, I think the C's win. Then Milwaukee comes out and competes well tonight, but Boston is too much. Okay. Derek says morning show was a hit and he had ran it back because Chris is the truth. Appreciate you, Derek. Tasha says, what do you think about Boston team total 118? I think so. Tasha. I think they can get there. And yeah, Tasha, you've been saying this. This is what I know you most for. Tasha says, I always say, can't bet against Boston. And she says it every single time they play. 77 Figure says, this game's going over. Milwaukee can't stop anybody this year. Yeah, and that would also lead to that team total over as well. Jarrell says, easy over, Chris. Celtics are going to have blood in their eyes. Yeah, they could really turn up in this spot. So enough on that game. I think we talked about it a little for a long time. Next game up, the first bet that I made yesterday to the members was this Sacramento and Toronto game. So this line was actually opened at 8.5 yesterday, and that was before the news came out about Quickly being out in this game. I actually got it capped right here at 8.5. The total was at 234.5. Since then, of course, the numbers come down just a tad bit, 233.5. Spread has gotten humongous from 8.5 up to 11. Couldn't quite get there because Sacramento is just 6-4, straight up 5-5 against the spread as road favors against teams that have a 45% win percentage or less. They're actually losing these games by average of 1 point. So I chose to pivot towards Toronto team total to go under. I gave this out at 111.5 last night. That number I think has come down. I think the best number you could get right now, I'll give you guys is, and I still think it goes under, honestly. You still can get the 111.5. It's 111.5 on Bet365. Actually, a better number than I got. I laid the juice and got it at minus 120 because I thought it would drop. And it is like this number is 109 on Unibet. It's 110 on FanDuel, on DraftKings, on BetMGM, and it's 111 on ESPN Bet and on Bet365. So numbers all over the place. But I'll tell you guys the reason why I like it. Of course, Toronto's offense is just kind of falling off a cliff. No Chris Boucher, no RJ Barrett, no Jakob Poeltl, no Quickly's also done. But the big reason outside of Toronto being just 1-9 straight up, 2-8 against the spread in their last 10, they've lost 7 in a row and failed to cover 4 their last 5. They're averaging just 107 points in the month of March over the 9 games that they played. It's the offense, right? I got this new system that I'm kind of like tracking, and what it tells me is that over the full course of the season, Toronto's offense is ranked 21st. So they're like, bottom 10, but just on the outside of the, like kind of high, like, not too bad. 21st in points scored per 100 possessions. Since the All-Star break, now granted, keep in mind the All-Star break was a month and 5 days ago. Since the All-Star break, they dropped to the 24th offense. In the past 2 weeks, they're actually the 28th offense, scoring just 106 points per 100 possessions. And also, when you get into the thick of things, like how Sacramento likes to score is not necessarily the greatest advantage for them. I look at Toronto. They like to attack the paint. They're 7th in frequency and accuracy on shots in the mid-range. But Sacramento is 6th in limiting opponents' frequency and 2nd in opponent accuracy over the last 2 weeks. Sacramento also loves the run the fast break. They're 3rd in transition frequency, 4th in points scored in transition over the past 2 weeks. Toronto, 22nd in points allowed per 100 possessions in that time frame. And Toronto also likes to get out and run. Toronto is attempting the 4th most shots at the rim, converting the 10th highest rate. So this is something that they do well over the last 2 weeks. Sacramento's defense is actually the interior. They're 7th in opponent rim frequency, 9th in opponent rim accuracy. I don't think Toronto is going to get any easy baskets here. And I told you, everybody knows Toronto like to run. They're number 1 in transition frequency, but Sacramento is actually 3rd in fewest fast break chances. So I think Sacramento limits this team. They're on the first leg of a back-to-back. It's not too much of a look-ahead spot. I just don't trust Toronto's offense, especially without having any of those guys in there. So this was a spot that I really, really like. It was actually the first play and the one that kind of jumped out to me the most. I bet Toronto team total under 111.5, still widely available right now. You guys can kind of look at. Let's see what you guys are saying here. What up? Get that parlay. Appreciate you for tapping in, my brother. Saturated says I took the Toronto team total under 111.5. Shout out to me and my guy Saturated on the same side. Vaughn says I want to get there with some bonus rebounds, but this has blowout potential, so I'll be off for the game probably altogether. I can see that. Saturated also says Toronto's missing too much. I agree. This is a game, right, where like if for whatever reason, let's say Toronto covers the first half number, which is probably like 5.5, 6. If Toronto covers the first half number, you take Sacramento in the second half, right? We see that happen all the time. It happened yesterday with the Wizards. The Wizards actually were, I don't know if they were winning, but I think they were down by like 3 and at the end of the first half against the Houston Rockets. And it's just way too much firepower on one side than the other. So I would agree here with saturated. I mean, Toronto's literally trotting out a B team, and Sacramento has everybody outside of Trey Lyles and Vasenkov. LJ said he's on some bonus rebounds, 15 plus, and his points, rebounds, and assists over 43.5. Toronto allows 6 of their last 9 big men to average 46 points, rebounds, and assists. I like it. Jarrell says he's taking that Raptors and Kings. Taking the Raptors and Kings are horrible with laying points. Grizzlies always take Kings as underdog. I would agree with a lot of that sentiment as well. I will say, however, the Kings do much better laying points on the road than they do at home. Appreciate you, TJ. He says that was a great breakdown of the game. Vaughn says he's about the SDQL Kings and away favorites with a line greater than or equal to 10. I looked at that as well, Vaughn. I don't think I wrote it down, but it wasn't anything that stood out because I wanted to get to the Kings. When that line opened at 8.5, I was like, that's a little steep, but I didn't know Quickly wasn't going to play. I think Quickly means at least 3 points to the spread when you think about how much he does on the offensive end, just how many points he can score, how many assists he was getting. Now you're really, really relying on threes. And I don't want to dive too deeply into it, but the Raptors right now have the same identity as the Brooklyn Nets and the Charlotte Hornets. These are 3 teams that are shooting a ton of above the break threes and 3-point threes. And it's insanity. They just keep shooting them and not making them. The Brooklyn Nets live and die by the 3. They've been dying a lot. Same thing with the Charlotte Hornets, who scored 15 points in the first quarter and 32 at halftime yesterday. And Toronto Raptors, their makeup, their profile is the same of those 2 teams, just shooting a bunch of threes. Sacramento defense hasn't even been good against the 3, but Toronto can't make them. They're bottom 5 in 3-point accuracy over the last 2 weeks. So that was another thing that really talked me onto this one. Tasha says Shields passed on this game. 77 figures says Kings only turn up for Western Conference teams. They wishy-washy. This is a backwood. They had some good, pretty convincing wins on the East Coast, 77 figures. They beat Charlotte really, really bad earlier this season. And I would argue that Charlotte team was probably better than this Toronto team, but we'll see how it goes. All right, let's keep it pushing. Enough time on this game. And I actually don't have graphic for the other ones, but we can get into them. I didn't really like any of these games. I told you guys it was 2 plays that I considered. I did pull the trigger on one. And it's one more that I'm considering too. So let's talk a little bit about this Jazz and Thunder game. This line, it was at 15 when I made the graphic earlier. I didn't update this. It's at 15.5, 16 some places. Total come down from 235 down to 232. So it's actually gone back up a little bit. It was down to 231 when I did the show this morning, back up to 232. And I think the money's come in on Utah team total over, right? Like, how can you trust the Jazz to be able to score in this spot? They will be without Jordan Clarkson. They'll be without Lauri Markkanen, the first road game out the 4 straight home games. Also, first leg of a back-to-back. They got the Dallas Mavericks tomorrow in Dallas. And it's the 4th game of a 6-game. 4th game in 6 nights for the Utah Jazz as well. So not a favorable spot. OKC off 3 days rest. I think that's a big, big advantage for them. It's a one-off home game before they play in Toronto on Friday. Then they got Milwaukee on Sunday. And this team has been cooking, man. We know that, OKC's 22-12 against the spread at home. They are just 3-7 against the spread in their last 10 games. But, I looked at this from a couple different angles. I thought that the number was big. When I'm used to OKC laying big numbers, I like to take them in the first half. This is a team that we see get up by, 20, 15, 20, sometimes even 25 points. And I think that could happen here, especially off 3 days rest. I feel like it's a really, really good spot for them. Utah has a depleted roster. They have 0 starters that started in this lineup tonight that started at the beginning of the season, while OKC doesn't even have anybody on the injury report. I don't like the spot. Like I said, for Utah, 4th game in 6 nights. They could feel a little fatigue here. From a trend perspective, OKC's 5-1 against the spread as home favorites when they're laying 12 points or more this season. And they're winning the first half. They are plus 19 in the first half. Now, if you flip it and look at the Jazz as road dogs, we know that they typically play really, really bad on the road. And when the Jazz have been double-digit road dogs 6 times this season, 0-6 straight up, 1-5 against the spread, losing the first half by average of 18 points. So I took OKC first half minus the 8.5, gave it out earlier at minus 115 on FanDuel. And that was the way I chose to play this one. I do think that the Oklahoma City can cover this spread and win this game by 20, 25 points if they want to. The Jazz are, man, I don't even have to give you guys the numbers. They can't defend the fast break. OKC should be able to get out and run in this game. I also consider OKC team total first half to go over as well. I think this is a game where honestly they could score 70 points in the first half. They don't defend the three well. We know that they're bottom three in that category. Thunder shoot it well. And I have trouble finding ways that the Jazz are going to score outside of getting some offensive rebounds. So I think OKC will have a double-digit lead at halftime. I laid the 8.5 in the first half here. Let's see. What are you guys saying in the chat here? Johnny says, I know we're not on the game, but what do you think about Halliburton under 2.5 threes? He hasn't made that, but like one in the past 5 games for plus 110. Not against Detroit, Johnny. Don't let me talk you off, but I mean, if you need a breaking out party, why not do it against this Detroit defense? That's the only thing I'll say. 77 figures like SGA points. He says over his points, perhaps. Vaughn says he likes OKC team total over in the first quarter and the first half, 31 and 61. He says fast starts at home over the last fast starts at home and over in 3 previous meetings. Yes, all 3 games have gone to the over in the head-to-head meetings between these two teams. I forgot to mention that. Thank you for mentioning that, Vaughn. LJ likes the first quarter. He says first quarter minus 4.5. He says that 15-4 against the spread in the first quarter at home versus the West. Utah 3-7 against the spread in the first quarter last 10. On the road, he said get it in. He said get in and get out. He wants the first quarter and he's done with it. I'm on the first half and I'm done with it as well, Vaughn. Hopefully they can hold on. Like I said, it's pretty big margins on both sides for OKC in this spot. And Utah, really, really bad spot for them. Vaughn says Phoenix, Boston, OKC, and Golden State parlayed together is minus 120 on FanDuel. Shop around to get the best of the number. That's a lot of teams, Vaughn. Phoenix, Boston, OKC. I guess they should all win. I'm definitely not in the parlay right now. LJ likes that first quarter. Vaughn said he likes that first quarter to LJ. What up to my guy, ChrisBeCappinn? Young Harlow says, hope all is well. Appreciate you as well, Young Harlow. Hope all is well with you also. Vaughn says the Jazz injury report looks like a CVS receipt. I mean, it looks like that. When I was counting the players for the Memphis injury report yesterday, it was 2 football. Like it was 14 people. I think they had a full roster on the injury report yesterday. I'm not sure what it looks like today. 77 figures is Jimmy Butler in and out. He's in. He's been ruled out with Butler's, but Bam is out. All right, cool. Let's keep it pushing. Next game up, Grizzlies and the Warriors. This was a game that I didn't decide to get involved in. Looking at the spot, is it a bounce back spot for Golden State? I'm not quite sure. Second straight home game, 1 day of rest. They're coming off the 7-point loss as a 6.5 point favorite against the New York Knicks. They do have a game against the Indiana Pacers at home on Friday. On the Memphis side, like I said, they had a lot of guys on the injury report. I didn't even go back and see what this injury report looked like. This is a game that I just totally decided to punt on. I think that Golden State, in my opinion, could be laying too many points here, though. I really, really do, especially with Desmond Bane back, Jared Jackson Jr. I know Golden State's going to be locked in. They don't have anybody on the injury report. I did see Moody on the injury report, but you got all these guys. You still got Santi Aldama, Vince Williams Jr. still listed as questionable. So this is a spot where, I didn't feel comfortable really taking the points or laying the points. But I think if I had to, it would be Memphis. The only thing you don't like about Memphis is they are coming off an overtime game. Not a far travel from Sacramento to Golden State. I think when they did that last year in the playoffs, when Golden State went to Sacramento, they caught a bus. They didn't even get on a plane. So not a lot of travel here, but I think, I don't like playing off teams, off an overtime game. So not a favorable spot. And I also just didn't watch that game with Memphis and Sacramento. So I have no idea how Desmond Bane looked. Like I said, just not a game I'm super interested in. If I had to play it, I think 10 could be a bit too many points here, though. So I stayed off. This line is it's 11 now. I do see it at 11.5 as well, and the totals come down. This is a super low total, man. I feel like Desmond Bane being back, Memphis should be able to score a few more points. Jared Jackson Jr. being in there as well. Yeah, I think it should be a few more points. Maybe a look towards the over, but not a game that I'm interested in. This Clippers and Blazers game, also a game that I decided to punt on, and it's primarily because it's one of those first head-to-head back-to-back series. They play again on Friday in Portland. So you get a Clippers team coming off 2 days rest, coming off a loss against the Atlanta Hawks at home as a 9.5 point favorite. So you could say bounce back spot here for Portland. For the Clippers. And Portland, first game back home off a 2-game East Coast road trip. They had 1 day of rest as well. They almost won that game against Chicago. They almost won that game. Yeah, against Chicago. Anthony Simons missed a shot. He didn't get it off in time anyway. But this was a game that another one that I wasn't super interested in playing. Anthony Simons then popped up on the injury report now as well. Looks like he's dealing with some left knee tendonitis. So, anytime you pop up on the injury report this late in the day, and this was pretty recent, teams tend to not play as much. And I will say this, we talked about this before, but without Anthony Simons on the floor, Portland offense really, really struggles. I think that will be a look more towards the under, even though the Clippers they've been really, really bad defensively. I just think that Portland's offense, with no Anthony Simons, with no Malcolm Brogdon, I've been talking about that Brogdon, how important he is to that offense for a long time. I think this will be game 20 in a row that he's missed. There's no way I can look towards Portland. I'm not laying points with the Clippers either, though. This team is not great. Maybe they'll be able to score just a tad bit, but Portland becomes a lot more defensive oriented without Anthony Simons on the floor. If you go in and look at the advanced numbers, so not a game that I'm interested in at all. I know I'm not betting it, so I won't waste your time anymore with this one. Let's see, a Kuminga game. Colin says potentially. He gonna have his hands full with Jared Jackson Jr. down there guarding the paint, but I'm pretty sure Steve Kerr put him in some positions to be successful. All the screens and, misdirection plays that they run. Keelan says Vince Williams Jr. is doubtful. He likely won't suit up. I think I would agree with that, but I'm not 100% sure. Tariq says Golden State needs a win. Not sure if they cover. All last 3 games won't probably cover. Yeah, there's some big spreads, man. Some super big spreads and some ones that I don't really feel like I want to get interested in. I would be taking the points with the Grizzlies. Though. I think 10 is a tad bit too many. The Grizzlies are fighters. We know that they're fighters. They also hate the Warriors. Like they can't stand the Warriors, and they beat them earlier at home on MLK Day as well. Saturated says, "What do you think about Aiden over his 34.5 points plus rebounds? That's the only way he could look in this game." Yeah, I know Aiden has been hooping. He'll give. I think he'll give Zubac a lot of problems. Zubac doesn't do well with bigs that can stretch the floor, and we know Aiden can knock down that little pull-up jump shot. So I'm pretty sure he'll try to pull Zubac out of the paint, try to put him in a vulnerable position. I could see him, taking advantage of that matchup. But what Aiden do we get, man? Do we get the one that's sleeping on mattresses, or he's sleeping on his air mattress, or he got a bed and acting like the millionaire? I have no idea what we're gonna get from DeAndre Aiden. Not a guy that I'm ever interested in really betting on, but I think he does have some advantages in this game. The Clippers should be a little bit motivated. I talked about this earlier on the morning show, but you got Paul George coming out and saying this team has lost their identity. The Clippers are, if you go through and look at the advanced numbers, I won't do it right now, but this team is really, really struggling to score the ball. They're also really, really struggling to guard the ball too. Atlanta came in. We had just taken Atlanta. I gave out Atlanta on Friday night against the Utah Jazz, and Atlanta laid an egg in Utah, couldn't get a stop. Then they go into crypto.com and they beat the Clippers down from start to finish. It was over. Like first quarter, first half, the game was pretty much over. They went up by 20 against the Clippers. So something tells me Tyronn Lue probably, challenged this team. I'm not playing the game though, but yeah, and I'm not betting on Aiden either, but I could see Aiden cashing today. Tasha says she likes the Warriors team total over 115. Vaughn says no Simons or Brogdon, maybe a team total under. I would agree there. Even though I don't like this Clippers defense, I would agree. And this total is super low too. You got to think 218.5 divided by 2 is what? 109, subtract 6. That's like 103.5. That's a super low number for the Blazers. The Clippers play with too much pace for that. Tasha also says she can't trust the Clippers here. Scotty says he thinks Aiden 20-20 here. Scotty also mentioned in Benton, which I think is a good look. He says Simons is out. Benton to score 15 plus. I agree there. Saturated also likes Aiden rebounds over 12.5. Go Young DJ says Kerr bench Kuminga in the 4th last game. I didn't even watch that game, so I'm unfamiliar with that. Saturated also says you don't want to fade the Grizzlies as dogs with Bane and Jared Jackson Jr. I don't want to fade them. Yeah, I'm with you there. I'm with you. Vaughn says one of the home dogs will win. I think Toronto. Give me Who is that? Gary Trent III for 25 and a win for plus 1,050. Throwing some Wendy's money on it. Okay. Hey, best of luck to you, man. Best. Missoula, Drew Holiday unlikely to play today. So we got breaking news that Drew Holiday is looking like he's not going to play with a shoulder injury. Not that does not bode well for our bet, but I still think Boston can get it done today, even without Drew Holiday. You do got to lock up Damian Lillard, though. You do got to lock him up. Sam Hauser also unlikely to play. Yeah, they could be without some depth, but I still think they got enough guys. Last game, the 76ers and the Phoenix Suns. This line was at 8.5. It's not at 8.5 anymore. It's up to 9 total. Gone up from 220.5 up to 223 now. And it's interesting because while Phoenix has been struggling defensively, Philly has actually been playing some really good defense. I think top 5 in defensive efficiency over the last 5 games. Philly been really clamping up. So in this game, last game on the board, you got a Philly team, off 1 day's rest. It's the first road game after a 2-game homestand. They actually got a game with the Lakers on Friday, is the Philadelphia 76ers. I didn't see the status of Tobias Harris either. I know he was listed as questionable. I'm still not sure if he's going to play. I see him still listed as a game time decision right now. I think he's questionable. Still dealing with that ankle injury that did keep him out in the last game. They won that game without Tobias Harris against the Miami Heat, which is crazy. So on the Phoenix side, first game back home after a 4-game road trip, they do have 2 days rest here, and it is the first leg of a back-to-back with the Atlanta Hawks on deck for tomorrow in Phoenix. I like Phoenix, man. I talked about this one. I haven't played it yet. I'll wait for the injury news to get all the way, to wait for all the dust to clear and settle in this one, especially because it's a late start time game. If I do end up pulling the trigger, this game doesn't start until 10 o'clock, but you get a Phoenix team, in my opinion, I think is going to be really, really motivated. Now, I know Phoenix doesn't cover spreads, especially at home. They are one of the worst ATS teams at home. The odds makers just kind of keep inflating the number, and they don't cover whatever the final number is. However, I do think it's a big, big motivational spot here. We got to remember the last time we saw this team a couple of days ago on Sunday, they gave up 60 points, 80 points in the first half against the Milwaukee Bucks. That's where you kind of got to take pride as a man, as a player, right? And you got to come back out with something. Philly's offense, I think, will really, really struggle to score. They haven't been the greatest offensive team. I like Phoenix in the first half. I can't get there with the full game just because I think that they're the worst scoring fourth quarter team in the NBA. They don't score a lot of points at the end. Phillies can be scrappy, and I think that they can keep this game close. I just like Philly. I like the 70s. I like the Suns a little bit better early. That first half number, the best line you can get is, and I haven't played this one yet, but it is on my short list. And if I had to make another bet, this would probably be it. Phoenix first half is -5. This was at 4.5 earlier. I do think that they're winning the first half. It's up to 5.5 in some books as well, but you can get a 5 on Bet365 right now. I think Phoenix gets the job done early. Major bounce back spot for them here. Offense should be able to cook Philly's defense, but I'm not trusting them for the full game. So Philly, I keep saying Philly. Phoenix first half -5 would be my best spot here. What are you guys saying in the comments about this one? Let's see. 77 Figures says Phoenix minus the 8.5. Too many points after long East Coast road trip. 76ers stick around, I think. I would agree. I think it's a tad bit too many points as well, 7 figures. If I had to play the full game spread, I do think that Philly can keep it close. Get that parlay says if any dogs win, it's Bucks. And I think it's a favorites day. Okay. Tariq says 76ers plus the 9. Suns won't cover. I would agree. Go Young DJ says Tobias has been terrible lately. He keeps having fluctuating, having these really good games, really bad games. Vaughn says Nurk rebounds. He says Philly bottom 3 and rebounding recently. I like Phoenix in this spot. Okay. Saturated asking about Maxey over his points. That's the only way I'd be able to look. The Suns have been absolutely getting obliterated by point guards. Like if somebody's gonna have success, it's gonna be Maxey in this spot. Maxey's looked super aggressive lately, shooting a ton of shots. I think that Coach Nick Nurse is kind of running the offense through him. Everybody else kind of getting them involved, trying to put them in good spots on the floor as well. so that it's a little bit easier for him to score. And the Suns are coming off a game where, granted, they'll be locked in defensively, but Maxey's a different beast, man. And the Suns also just gave up Dame had like 30 and 15 or something against them on Sunday. And they really, really struggled. Darius Garland hit him up last week as well in that game. So could definitely see that. What's up, Kelsey? Appreciate you for being here. SK likes Royce O'Neal over 6.5 rebounds and assists. He says he's 13 out of 16 for Phoenix. Only misses with minutes of 11, 15, and 17. So as long as he gets the minutes, I like this handicap, SK. Sounds like it makes sense. Saturated says Nurk should eat versus Paul Reed. I would agree there. I think Vaughn mentioned that. That's a really good play there. I like Nurkic rebounds as well. Kelsey says I'm on the Clippers and Celtics team total overs. Tasha says Tobias Harris is trash. Lingowick says he's not overthinking it. Not sure what you're not overthinking. Let me know what you're not overthinking, Lingowick. Vaughn says Phoenix first half for me. I think they come out early with some effort and energy, and the ball moves. Might sprinkle on the first quarter as well. What up to my guy S. Dot? He says, did I miss everything? We almost done, S. Dot, but go back and check it out, man. I'm pretty sure you got your plays locked in already. But if you don't, definitely go back and check it out. Tariq says if the Suns take the first half, I'm taking Philly plus whatever the number is. And I could definitely see that as well. Could definitely see that. Phoenix also got a game tomorrow. LJ, 76ers Suns under 220.5 is what he got in there. And you can get a better number now. He said the Suns are 10-4 to the under last 14. Philly 8-3 to the under in their last 11. I think if you like Philly for the full game, you do got to like the under. I don't see Philly being able to score a ton of points. I think with the Suns having a couple days rest, being back on the West Coast, getting some practice time underneath them. Bradley Beal talked about the sense of urgency that they got to start the game with. I think we do see defense from both teams. And Suns can play defense in some spots, man. Some spots they can play defense in. The 76ers offense already isn't too good. Lingowick's like OKC first half minus the 4.5, first half minus the 9, and the full game minus the 15.5. He said all of those are his best bets, all three. Jose says he likes Booker under 7.5 points in the first quarter. He says it's been hitting consistently. So yeah, I could not talk you off any of those. So we've reached the end of the show, man. Top plays, and these are still available. Well, everything except this Pacers. What you guys see here, I haven't updated this graphic if you're watching on YouTube. Toronto team total under the 111.5. I played that. Indiana first half minus, what did I give out to you guys? -5, -5.5, whatever that number was. I played that as well. And I know that number moved without Fontecchio being ruled in. It's up to 11 now on most books. I do think I see 110.5. You could check. Caesars actually got a 9.5. So if you want that, best number you can get is on Caesars right now. It looks like Indiana first half is probably like -4.5 there. And then Miami, Cleveland, I didn't bet it. You guys see under 203.5. I didn't bet that. Toronto team total, I'm sorry, OKC team total under. I didn't bet that either. I did play them first half minus the 8.5 earlier today. And that Phoenix play, like I said, if there's anything that I'm going to add, it's probably that one. The only other play that I made that's not listed is Boston first half minus the 6. You may be able to get a better number now without Jrue Holiday being ruled in. That's going to hurt Boston's defense, in my opinion. But I still think Boston has enough to cover here, especially without Giannis on the other side. So Toronto team total under 111.5. Indiana first half spread. Boston first half spread. OKC first half spread. Top 4 plays on the board for me today. As we get news that Doug McBuckets is going to play today. I think he's been out for a while now, but he will play. Porzingis is not expected to have a minutes limit. That's great news. Quickly, without a timetable. Hopefully, whatever he's going through in his personal life is good as well. So yeah, that's it for today, man. I appreciate everybody for tapping in. Relax, Tariq. He said no audio. I'm not rerunning this show. My voice is dead for the day, man. I'm actually about to look into the slate for tomorrow. I haven't had a chance yet. Grateful that we only have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 games. Some of these lines are out already, so I got to get ahead for tomorrow. I'll be sending plays out to the members tonight. Hopefully, if I find something that I absolutely love. Best of luck to you guys, man. As I see, Saturated says she likes Sabonis triple-double. He says I got to be a thing as well, so he's looking at that look. But yeah, best of luck to everybody, man. I appreciate everybody for tapping in. Resources for the new people. I know for my people that handicap the games every day, you guys are probably using some of the same things. But if you're new and you're wondering how does Chris find all this stuff? These are some of the resources that I'm using. Check those out in your free time. And yeah, if you're still watching and you're still listening, do me a favor. If you haven't, hit that like button for me. As we get breaking news that Jaylen Brown is ruled in, Drew Holiday is going to be ruled out. Breaking news as the show ends. But yeah, like the video, share the video if you guys can. Bet responsibly. If you guys want access to all my plays when I do make them, those are posted in the YouTube comments, in the YouTube comment section. The description, it's in the link is in the description. I want to go to Twitter real quick because I do see my guy Redemption here before we get off of here, because I'm fire for y'all today. Probably a long shot, something that he's looking at. If we can get him up, it looks like it kicked him out. I'll wait a couple seconds real quick to see if he hops back in. Drew Holiday and Sam Hauser out. Jaylen Brown and Porzingis in, and no Giannis on the opposite side. Let's see. I don't see him in here. Maybe he did. Maybe he couldn't come back up. But it's all good, man. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Like I said, I'll do another morning show in the morning. Not sure what time, but turn the notification bell on so you guys know when I do go live if you're interested. And like I said, best of luck to you guys and everybody tonight on all your action, man. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Best of luck on all your action. Bet responsibly. I'm out.